Like, we say school is about gaining knowledge. I even said that. I'm like, I'm doing a PhD because I want to, you know, acquire knowledge and contribute to knowledge. But the truth is, I'm doing a PhD because I want that certificate. It's the same thing with CTA. You are studying CTA to get the certificate so that you can write the ITC exam, so that you can be a CA, so that you can go out there and make money. That's it. You're not studying, you're not studying so that you can know accounting or you have a passion for management. If you have a passion for management accounting, you could just go to the University of Google and read up on management accounting and do all of that. But you're actually studying because you want to get a certificate. And that certificate, that degree, that diploma, whatever it is attached to marks. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nolo Pujuju and this is Study with Nolo. Let me get smart. So guys, I'm not even going to insult your intelligence. I'm not going to give you stories about where I've been. I was gone and now I'm back. So I hope you will accept that statement. It's been a very busy period with my studies and yeah, I just couldn't record a video. Yeah, my mind was just deep in the PhD, but I'm back. And I cannot guarantee that I will have videos every Monday. I'll just have videos whenever, okay? But let's get into today's video. And I'm actually, like, I've tried so many times to record this video, so I hope I get it right, né? But I'm actually very passionate about it because, guys, let me tell you something. I know you can get this. I know you can get this, but I know many of you are in your little corner, in your little space, and you are trying to navigate the CTA the way that you've trained over the past years, and you know, you've picked up some methods here or there, and you're just not getting certain things right, you know. Now, it's not because you are not intelligent, it's not because you don't have what it takes to do this. Really, you are missing some techniques, you're missing some skills, and you just need to get those skills and techniques, and then you'll be fine. So this video is just I just want to address something when it comes to questions, doing questions in preparation for exams. So, you know, all of us, your lecturers will tell you, even former students will tell you that if you want to prepare for the exams and do well at CTA, you need to do questions, right? That's like always like drilled into you. You have to do questions. And I think most of you get what we mean by doing questions, at least in terms of doing the actual question. I think most of you get it. I think it becomes a bit of a problem when it comes to marking the question, because we tell you must do the questions and you must also mark the questions. And I think maybe that's where things get a bit blurry. But in this video, I'm going to explain what we mean. I'm going to explain at least what I mean when I say you need to do questions. And I'm going to try to be as clear and really as like explain it like a grade 1 would understand. I hope I do that. I'm really going to try. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, if you're missing something, guys, I mean, I'm not a master communicator. Just write in the comments and ask me, you know, and just get clarity on what I'm trying to say. And if you still don't understand, go to your lecturers, you know, and say, I'm doing questions, I'm doing this thing, but it's not working. So a lot of times students will say, I'm doing questions, I'm doing questions, I'm doing questions. You guys said I must do questions, I'm doing questions, but I get to the exam room or I get to the test room and I'm failing the subject. I'm not passing. I don't know what's going on. And every time I hear that, at first I'm initially shocked. But then afterwards, I always ask, okay, tell me what you mean when you say you're doing questions. You know, I had a conversation with a student just last week. We discussed this, but this happens a lot with my students. They'll say I'm doing questions, and I really get confused. Like, why aren't you getting it right? You know. So with my students, they'll come into my office and they'll say, "Ma'am, I'm doing questions, but I'm not passing." And then they'll say, "Okay, fine. Tell me what you mean by you do questions. Let me see the questions. That's always my first thing. I want to see, are you really doing the questions the right way? So remember, there's basically, I would say, 3 ways of doing questions. The first one is not the right way, the OYA method, where you just read the question and then you read the memo, you work out the question in your mind and then you read the memo and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. That is not a good way of doing a question. That's not going to help you in terms of grasping the knowledge and also working on your exam technique. Maybe you can do that for a question when you're introducing yourself to a topic, but that's not what I call doing questions. Okay? So if that's what you're doing, it is a type of study, but it's not doing questions. The second way of doing questions that I would say is when you sit down and you do the question in full. So you read the required, you read the scenario, you write out your answer, but you don't restrict yourself in terms of time and the resources that you use. So maybe you check your tutorial letter to help you answer the question, and if it's a 30-minute question, maybe you take an hour to do the question. And really what you're doing there is you're just trying to understand what is going on. That's a good way of doing questions, especially on a new topic that you just don't understand. So you are not limiting yourself in terms of what you use to do the question, but the key thing is that you are doing that question. Then the third way of doing a question is under strict exam conditions. That means you're only using the resources that you're allowed to use in the exam, and you're restricting yourself in terms of how much time you allocate to do that question, right? So those are the 3 ways, but when I talk about doing questions, I'm talking about the 2 ways. One where you're not restricted, but you're still writing out, and the other way where you are restricted in terms of time and resources. In both scenarios, we want you to mark those questions. And I think most of you guys are getting the writing out part right. I think many of you are sitting down, you are writing, and I've seen students will bring their books and I'll see, okay, this person did do the question, I'm seeing that. But the marking, I think, is a bit sloppy, and I think maybe that's where things are going wrong. And I'm pretty sure most of your lecturers have told you about marking, that you have to mark yourself, and also the importance of marking, that it can actually take even longer than doing the question itself. It is very, very important. If you sit and you just do questions the whole time and you don't pay attention to marking, you are going to walk into that exam room blind. So what do we mean by marking? Marking that I've seen students do. Oh, guys, there's a mosquito flying around here. Don't know where. It's fine, I'll be brave. Marking that I've seen students do, when they say they're marking, students will come in and they'll show me their work and I'll see the work and say, okay, but you haven't marked it. And like, no, but I have, but I don't see any ticks, right? So then the students say, no, I took the memo and then I marked. So it's like a mental exercise, like you're looking at that, you're reviewing. And sometimes when you do really badly, as happens in CTA, everything's wrong, you end up just like putting the book away and you're just reviewing the memo. That's not marking, that's reviewing the memo. And it's not even proper review of the memo, you're just reading the memo. Marking is when you take a different colored pen. I always say this, take a different colored pen. In fact, take a red pen and have your ticks. Where you got it right, you have a tick, and you actually allocate the mark. So if it's worth 1 mark, you write that, okay, I got 1 mark here, right? And where you got it wrong, please make a cross. I know we don't usually make crosses, but make a cross when you got it wrong to show that, okay, I got the sentence wrong, right? And I expect you to do that for that entire question. So if it's a 30-mark paper, a 30-mark question, you do that for the entire script that you wrote out. You do that. You mark yourself the same way that I would mark you. You are very thorough, right? And it can be a bit difficult. You could be a bit biased when you're marking yourself. Try to be as objective as possible. You cannot be 100% objective. But you need to mark yourself and allocate the marks where you earned them, and where you didn't earn the marks, you show that you got this wrong. So there should be a marking next to every single thing that you have written on your question, right? After you do that, you add up your marks. You add up your marks and you see what you got. For instance, in this question, as you can see, I'm doing very well. I'm a 60% student. I got 6 out of 10. So I can see, by doing that, I'm communicating to my brain that, okay, I was able to score 60% of the marks. Remember, it's not really about me understanding 60% of the work. It's more about me scoring marks. School's a marks game, whether we like to admit it or not. So I see that, okay, I could score 60% of the marks, which gives me a target for next time, is that next time I'm also going to try and score 60% of the marks in this topic, right? I want to be consistent, or even more. But I can see I scored 60%. But more importantly, I can see that I lost 40% of the marks. I lost 4 out of 10. And now I can start investigating and trying to figure out, why did I lose those marks? How did I lose those marks? But that can only happen after I've done the full marking on my script. So then I can take the memo and look for those 4 marks that I lost and see, did I lose it because I didn't understand the question, or did I lose the marks because I really just did not know the answer? Like, I don't know this theory at all. Whatever the reason, or was it a calculation issue, was it a referencing issue? That's when you now start analyzing. I spoke to you guys about the lost marks analysis. That's when you start seeing, where did I lose my marks? But for you to do a lost marks analysis, you need to actually mark your script thoroughly. Something about marking your question properly, what it also helps you to see is actually how much you are writing down that is not scoring you marks. You get to see it yourself. And I think sometimes when you guys are marking yourself at home, you mark and then you realize, most of the stuff that you wrote is actually incorrect. So you get demotivated and you don't want to mark anymore, you just leave it. But I want you to actually read every single thing that you wrote, even when it's not scoring you marks. Actually see how much time you're investing in writing stuff that is not earning you marks. Because if you're doing that at your desk at home, you will probably do that in the exam room as well. If you're writing 2 pages that's only earning you 2 marks, you're going to repeat that in the exam room. So by marking yourself, you really get to see where you stand. And then if you do that, I honestly feel when you walk into the test, you know what student you are. If you've been doing test questions and you're constantly getting, 40s, 45s, then you know that you can expect around 40, 45, give or take a couple of marks. If you walk out of there with a 10%, then you can start saying something is wrong. But you can't walk in having never marked yourself thoroughly, not knowing where you stand, and then you walk into the exam and then you expect a 50%, or you expect to see, why would you expect it? Based on what evidence? We're auditors, right? We're accountants. We work with evidence. Marking is the evidence that shows you that, okay, this is how many marks I'm able to score in a test. So if I go to a test, there's a probability that I'll score these same marks. So in my opinion, I honestly think a lot of the time you might be doing questions, and because you're not marking yourself properly, you think you've done questions and you think that's enough for you to pass in the exam. But actually, you don't know where you stand with those questions. You don't know where you stand in terms of scoring marks in that particular topic. And so you walk into the exam room or the test room blind. You really don't know what your strengths are. You don't know what's going on in terms of mark allocation. And when you come out and the paper is marked, you're shocked when you get a 20% or a 10%. You don't understand why. But that's because you didn't complete the exercise, the full exercise of doing practice questions. Practice questions is about doing the actual question, and then it's also about marking yourself and marking yourself properly. Now, when you are preparing and you're in your own little space, don't keep the marks out of the process. When you are doing questions at home, you need to mark yourself to see how many marks will I get in the exam. And I'm marking, and you mark and you mark, and you see like, oh, okay, this is where I'm sitting. I need to improve. I need to work harder. It is a marks game even when you are preparing. Don't make it a marks game when you walk into the exam room and you're shocked at the marks that you get. No. Even at preparation, it is a marks game. So you need to start learning how to score those marks when you are preparing. I'm going to stop now because I could go on for hours, né? But I'm going to stop, and I hope I made sense. And please do this, start marking yourself properly, and then seeing where you went wrong. You will be amazed at how much you're going to grow in your performance. And also, this type of studying, you can't sit for 10 hours and do this. It's tiring, right? It's tiring because you're focused, you're reading, you're analyzing. It is work. So it's okay if you can only do this for 3 hours. It's okay. For 2 hours, it's okay. The point is, do it properly. If you're going to do it properly. I'm going to stop talking now, guys. Thank you for watching my video. I will see you when I record another video. I hope it's soon.